Hi, and welcome to Death, Sex, and Money from WNYC live on Zoom. I'm Anna Sale, and it is Friday, and this is the final event of our Audio We Love Festival. It is good to be with you. This week, we've been sharing some of our recent favorite podcast episodes, and our final recommendation comes from the podcast Back Issue. This show is wonderful. It just started in August, but it has become a serious go-to for me. I laugh, I learn new things. I feel like I'm talking to my funniest, smartest friends about pop culture and how it shapes our lives. Here's a little bit for you to hear.
Welcome to Back Issue, a weekly podcast that revisits formative moments in pop culture that we still think about. God, I love 1993.
Can we go back? You got a time machine on you?
Did you hear how she changed the inflection on birthday?
That's when I almost closed my laptop.
If I wanted to forget that video, I wouldn't be able to.
Cheated because you had Jesse Jackson write your little rhyme and line moment that you had.
No one wants to go see a movie about perfect people with their perfect lives.
Oh my gosh, slow hand? Who amongst us does not want a man with a slow hand? I know I do. I know I do.
I know I do. That is Tracy Clayton and Josh Gwynn, co-host of Back Issue. I am really thrilled to be talking with them. Welcome, Tracy and Josh, to Death, Sex, and Money.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. Tracy, you were in New York City. Josh, you were in California where I am. I really love your show. Here is what we are going to do tonight together. We're going to talk about making your show, why you wanted to make it, how you take seriously the moments of pop culture that really have shaped you and have shaped all of us, but, have not gotten sort of the attention and critical sort of picking apart that they deserve. And we're going to talk together about how you discovered this was a shared obsession to build a friendship around. And then we're going to have a little show and tell where you are going to bring things I have not seen that you have turned to lately for comfort, to bring you joy. But to start, Tracy, you've been on Death, Sex, and Money a couple of times back in 2017 when you were hosting another round. God rest her soul. It's nice to see your face. Josh, I have loved getting to know you through this new show and your incredible encyclopedic brain. Tell me about how you two realized that this was something you could come together and make together. Where did your friendship start?
So our official friendship started when we just sort of ended up making a bunch of podcasts together. It feels like a bunch of podcasts, but we first officially started working together with Netflix's Strong Black Lead, the Strong Black Legends podcast. I always feel still. And that found us spending a lot of time together working and also traveling back and forth across the country to interview celebrities and just kind of hanging out. And the rapport was always just like super, super easy. And I think a reason that Strong Black Legends was so good is because all of the like injections of like fun pop culture stuff and like weird little sketches and things. And most of those, people are always like, oh my gosh, that thing you did on a podcast was so funny. It was so funny. And I just wanted to be like, it was Josh. It wasn't me. So we did the Netflix podcast. Excuse me. And then we did the MailChimp season 2 of Going Through It. And it was just like a continuation of the first podcast. And somewhere along the way, we realized that we talk a lot and we talk a lot about pop culture. And we each have these moments where like one of us will quote some like very random episode of a very random show that we thought nobody else saw. And then we'll be like, oh my gosh, how do you remember that? This is so strange. Like, it's honestly a little bit weird and uncomfortable, So that is where the friendship started. And then the show, I will pass.
Yeah. Well, I pitched the show as an intern. I started at Pineapple Street as an intern. And I always thought about like having a show where we kind of dived deeper into these pop culture moments that people quote back to each other and like why they stick around even if they hadn't gotten like some big glossy write-up in a big magazine like The New Yorker or whatever. But it wasn't until me and Tracy started working together that the show made sense. Like we would be making these other shows and I would be in the producer's booth and I would be going through Tracy's voiceover with her and be like, you should do it like Bonita Betrell from In Living Color. And she'd be like, oh, okay, one take, done. Like, you know,
you should have just said that in the first place.
And so it kind of, pop culture became this shorthand for us to be able to speak quickly to each other.
And I guess, what does it mean to be able to say something that you think is going to be a reference that maybe people in the room are not going to get, and then you have this friend who's like, yes, I hear you, I got it. Like, what does that do?
It means everything. Like, I mean, on a friendship level, like it makes you feel really close to someone. But in terms of like a working relationship and like at work, I've been in lots of rooms where like I have to know like these people's references and my references. And so when you have a work partner that like understands you and your references from the jump, there's less of a work to get to ground zero that you have to do, and then that just frees you up to just being creative and doing whatever you're supposed to be there doing in the first place, instead of like code switching back and forth, which I feel really lucky that we get the chance to do, you know?
Yeah, it's like the opposite of swimming upstream, which I guess is swimming downstream. You know, like there's just like less resistance and less energy you have to impart just to like communicate and have a conversation. It's like,
and make yourself understood.
Yeah. It's like, it also feels like that moment you realize that you had felt like you'd been gaslighted this whole time, and then somebody else is like, no, this was a video that actually existed, and you're just like, I knew it, I knew I wasn't crazy, I knew this was a real thing. So it's very comforting. There's comfort there, there's ease there, and who couldn't use a little extra energy in this world or any
and
world?
It's fun.
Yeah. It strikes me, Tracy, you just said it's the opposite of swimming upstream, which is, I guess that's swimming downstream. Like, like if that's not the sort of default, you're like, swimming upstream is what the default often feels like. Flow and ease and release.
Yeah.
Do you all hear the audio looping?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't know if I did something wrong. I was like, oh no, I broke it. But yeah, I had gotten used to working in rather untenable situations, not just in audio, not just in media, but like all of the jobs I had answering other people's phones, and you know, like it's usually just like not an ideal situation when you work for someone else. So you have to figure out like these little hacks and these little like tips and tricks to get you through a day. And so now that like we are working with people who speak the same language and just like understand what is happening, I guess it's kind of like I forget sometimes that I don't have to work so hard or work so much. And like, sometimes Josh is like, yep. But it really is like trauma from coming from being in situations where you are the only one who knows how to do what you do or gets your references or listens to you and hears you. So there's a lot of times where I'm just like, okay, I got to do this and this and this and this and this and this, you know, prepared to swim upstream. And then everybody was like, no, we'll do it. We have a team that does all of that stuff.
Like, oh, that's nice.
All right, yeah.
I want to know about your pop culture consumption and how that's been affected by this time of isolation that we've all been going through. Josh, what have you noticed about how your habits have changed or not since we haven't been able to leave the house as much?
I mean, at the beginning, they didn't change at all, which, I mean, I feel as though a lot of times whenever I'm looking for different types of media that I'm watching, I'm looking for an escape anyway. Like, that's just the type of stuff that I like to watch. But one thing that I noticed in the time that since lockdown, was that I couldn't really engage with a lot of new shows and new characters. It became really, really difficult for me to watch things that felt really emotionally heightened, because life was emotionally heightened, and I didn't need that because I'm looking for escape, I didn't need that in my entertainment as well. And like, I noticed that I was turning more and more towards characters that I already knew, that I didn't have to put the work into like getting to know, storylines that felt familiar, as opposed to like jumping into a new world. Like that felt like impossible. And so I found myself watching a lot of stuff that I loved as a teenager or as a kid, and revisiting it.
What do you think that was about going back to your adolescence or your childhood? I noticed that impulse too. This like all of a sudden I'm singing camp songs that I sang when I was
Right.
12 that I haven't in years. You know, for you, like why not something that you watched when you were 25 and really loved?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people were searching. I think that a lot of people are searching for stuff that makes them feel like they did when they were excited to engage in media. Like there's this newness and autonomy that people search for as like a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old, when you're like, I'm no longer going to consume what my parents are consuming. I'm an adult now. And so I'm going to watch my MTV because I'm an adult, and I'm going to listen to CDs that are of my own volition. And so I think I think for me at least, like I was subconsciously kind of like searching for another time in which I felt excited to jump into this stuff, but also
Well, we lost Josh. I think he'll come back. But I'm really struck by what he's saying about like identity formation, like that you're going back to when you were 13 and like, who am I? And that's what I'm going to go back to right now. Tracy, what did you find? What were you, when you, those first kind of long weeks where you're like, oh, this is not a temporary situation. What did you find about how you engaged with pop culture, and how's that hung on for the last several months?
Yeah, so my quarantine kind of started a little bit before everyone else's did, because I was just kind of shut in my house, you know, dealing with the whole depression and anxiety.
But let's talk about that. You've been really open in a beautiful way about mental health and how you've dealt with depression, and how sometimes to take care of yourself, or because you lacked the energy, you were at home. So you for a period of time prior to the pandemic. And so do you feel like you had practice in a way that the rest of us didn't have?
Yeah, I actually felt weird because everybody else was just like, oh my gosh, it's just so difficult. What do we do? And I'm at home just kind of like, now I don't have to make excuses for not going outside. This is great. I want some more. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be a breeze, you know? Like, I mean, I've been training for this. Like, this is my version of like what are those things that people do when they run a lot? Marathon. I was like, this is my version of a marathon. And what I found is that it started out great. Like, it felt like my anxiety finally matched the rest of the world and everybody else's, you know? And so like, I'm watching everybody else sort of go through the same motions that I went through once I found myself staying in the house a long time. And I was just like, yeah, you're going to go through that, bud, but you'll be okay. You just trust me. And then when I realized that, like, all right, so this might be like months or maybe years, I don't know, things started to like change, right? And I was just like, I don't understand how I'm annoyed with being in the only place that I want to be most of the time, like at home by myself in my apartment. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, well, you know, the meaning of things are changing now because the world is changing so much. So things that gave you comfort before, you know, like when you're forced to be there, when you're forced to like exist in it all the time, like you get tired of it, you get resentful of being in the house all the time. And maybe something changes with like your energy or your body chemistry that makes it more difficult for you to focus on like the stuff that you used to watch more, maybe, which is what happened with me. I think that before quarantine happened, it was easier for me to like watch what everyone else was watching and like tweet along with everybody. And like Josh was saying, I could like consume and connect with new stuff and new ideas and new characters. And that ability for me is pretty much gone. Like it's it's really, really hard for me to like watch something new. I just started watching Schitt's Creek, and I'm really proud of myself, and I'm really happy because it's so good. Schitt's Creek is so good. But that's like the first new media I have consumed in I don't know how long. I don't think. So I tend to gravitate, like Josh was saying, like old episodes of shows that I grew up watching because I already know all the characters. Depending on the show, I already know what's going to happen. You know, like I don't have to expend any energy or free up any more space in my brain or my memory for something new.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, Tracy, I want to like make sure I understand when you're training, your marathon training for the time at home. What when you think about the things that the skills that you had, the muscle memory that you had that you're really glad you had, what was that?
I just got really good at being alone. Like I thought I was good at it before, and I was good at it before, but like I just found ways to like content myself with being alone in like a new way that I don't even know if I can like I don't even know if I have like the language to discuss. But before it was sort of like being at home was like I'm inside of like a fort that you make when you're at home and it's raining outside and you just want to feel like safe and cozy. And now like I've started thinking about being alone as like I think of it now still as a fortress, but like kind of as a fortress to keep me safe from all the madness that's happening outside. And so a lot of my time is occupied and spent like preparing for this winter. Like this winter is going to be hard. My depression is already here. Seasonal depression is coming. We're working from home, which is also the same as living at the office, which really sucks. It's not great. It's not fun. I wish I could stop it. But like I'm thinking like more like long term now versus like I just want to stay at home on this rainy day. Like I want to make sure that if this is going to be like the seat of my actual survival, then I need to make it like good and comfortable. If any of this makes sense at all.
Yeah, I love that because you're like you're just able to prepare. You're like, I know,
Yeah.
instead of being shocked by your feelings when they come up and want to stuff them away or resolve them, you're like, this is gonna come, it's gonna be rocky. So I'm gonna get some nice things to make me feel comfortable at home.
Yeah, and like not just like a nice robe, but like sun lamps so that like my brain thinks that there's still sunshine outside, and like making sure I have enough like toilet paper, not because people think that the world is ending, because it might be, but just because if I run out, I know it's going to stress me out, and I'm going to have to think about like, am I going to go to the store? Is this the day I'm going to get coronavirus? And, you know, like stuff like that. I'm thinking more like in terms of stability, I think, versus let me just get through this day. Let me just get through this week, because I don't know how long I'm going to be in here. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know from both of you, you know, I have found in my life that everything just feels more, whatever I pay my attention to, feels that much more focused because there's fewer distractions. My life is just smaller during this period. So I feel like I have to pay attention to what I let in. Like I really have to pay attention to my social media habits. I have to pay attention to whether I'm going to follow this news story, you know, that I know is going to get everybody upset today. Maybe I'll just skip this one in the next 3 and come back on the 4th one. Like, for 2 people who like you all get fuel from connecting on media and like what people are consuming and thinking about and finding connection around that. Like, have you found that you've had to turn off more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? Like, what are the ways you've learned to do that? Because it's hard. I'm addicted.
It's hard. It's hard because a part of you feels like, at least for me, a part of me feels like my anxiety will go down if I know. Like, you know? And so that turns into me like waking up and doom scrolling for 2 hours.
A mistake.
It's not a good thing to do. And I feel as though like I feel kind of the opposite as you were describing, in terms of nothing is focused for me right now. I feel like it takes way more energy and extra effort in order for me to focus, and everything is happening at once and everything is happening so fast that in order for me to, which I guess is kind of a good thing because it means that like things don't really stick in my head that long. But I had to change my habits in terms of like what media I consume right as I get up and how my day starts and what I'm taking in, because you really do feel like a difference when you're scrolling as opposed to, and that's what working on this show has done, is like I, instead of like focusing on things that feel big and out of my control, I can focus on things that made me feel good once. You know?
That's nice. Can you give me an example of something where you were like, this was lovely and delightful way to spend an afternoon?
Yeah. One of the things that I fell into during lockdown was these versus battles. Like I love them. And there was one with Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle. And
I feel like that the internet loved that one the best.
It was a good one.
Okay.
It was a good one. But it put me on it put me in the mood to like make these playlists and like revisit these eras in music that I love. And so instead of getting up and doom scrolling, I got up and I made breakfast and I listened to Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle for like an hour and a half. And that like lifted my mood way more than scrolling on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I just began the show and tell,
Uh-oh.
but we don't have any Patty or Gladys to show. But let's get to the show and tell, because as we thought about what we wanted to talk about with you all, I think like to know we're all living through a really difficult time right now. We are having to figure out new ways of taking care of ourselves. You also have had your heads in like, what is the like art and culture that like really makes me personally feel good. So I wanted to hear from you all. What are the things that you turn to when you are like, oh no, I need to change the script here, flip this day, and I'm going to go to this thing. So that's what we asked you to go out and gather and bring to us tonight. And I want to start with you, Tracy. I haven't seen any of these. I'm very excited.
I'm nervous. Why do I feel nervous?
It's very personal. We're asking you very personal things. So what is the first thing that you wanted to share that's something you've said like, I need to feel joy right now, I'm going right here?
I didn't write down the order that the clips are going in. I don't know what's first. Josh, do you know?
I do. Putting on my producer hat. It's a show with Titus Burgess.
Okay, great.
That's a good hint. I think I'm almost with you.
All right. So like I was saying earlier, like it's hard for me to pay attention to stuff that requires too much energy, right? New shows, movies are pretty much out. Even like the re-releases of like Moesha and shows that I've like seen before, like there's still work involved for me because like there's so much I don't remember, and I'm just like, I don't know if I got time to remember what Moesha and them were doing. So this particular show is called Sing On. It is a Netflix reality competition, and it's just like a karaoke contest with people who can hold, they can all hold a note, but I feel like I can also hold a note, and that's not me bragging on myself. So I say that to say, these are just like normal people, it's just like, here's Cindy, she's a receptionist, and here's Marcus, he's a tow truck driver or whatever. And the rules of the show are interesting because like they all sing together and there's money involved and you have to like vote somebody off round by round. But overall, it's just normal people singing, and it's me usually having a glass or two of wine and eventually singing with them and just like critiquing them as if like I know anything, you know what I mean? And like me and my friend Akoto, we sing all the time. So I got her watching the show, and I'm just like, you are gonna love this show. It's regular people who just love to sing, singing. And she was like, I'm in. So the clip that I have prepared is just my favorite moment so far. I've not seen all the first season, but there's this guy who's just, everybody sings like, I feel like they sing in the shower, like they just like pretend like they got the microphone and got all the like the little hand movements down and stuff. So this is the moment where this guy was just like, I'm going off. I love it. And the footage actually comes from my Instagram story where I was sharing my joy with everyone.
Let's see that clip.
I need y'all to experience. You know it. Check him out. Do it though.
There's something really intense about hearing that with an audio loop.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
okay, the way all I could really see, I could hear your commentary, but I could see his hand. I could see him going for it. Do you remember what song he was singing?
I sure do. It was Rihanna's Diamonds. Written by Sia. This was the particular part where Rihanna goes, she's just repeating shine bright like a diamond. And then she does it again, but she kind of like dredges her voice a little bit. And she goes, shine bright like a diamond. And that's what he was just like, and I was like, live all of your life in front of me right now. Like it just gave me so much like transitive joy. And just like, I get that from everybody, but this particular person, I just feel like we were the same person. You know, like if I had the gumption to actually sing on stage with my actual voice, I'd just be like, I don't know if I could just perform.
He did it.
Yeah, he did it, and I loved it.
Tracy, I don't know about this show, and I'm so glad to know about this show. I feel like that is magic. I mean, like it reminds me. I was in this bowling alley once with like the most committed karaoke singers, you know, but like you have to stand up in front of everybody, and when you can see people on a Friday night after their last, shift of the week, and then they like just get up and do it. And then they win over the crowd. There's nothing more beautiful and make you believe in.
Right? Exactly. And it also reminds me of like, this is how I grew up doing karaoke, like in a room full of strangers, not these old fancy pants, single, like private rooms in New York. I'm just like, y'all are spoiled. Y'all just don't. And so it really does bring me back to like me living in Kentucky and just like going out with my friends to a karaoke place, and not to sing because we can sing, but just to like yell and make noise and take up space and just be goofy and ridiculous. And it's just, also the stakes are very low, which is what I need. You know what I mean? Like I need to be able to root for somebody to win or to fail in a way that is not tied to my own like livelihood. You know what I mean? Like politics, stakes a little bit too high, but I'm just like, Trisha needs to go. Trisha sounds awful. Trisha knows it. Get out of here. It's just like, it activates a part of me that like I haven't had access to in a while. I think it's a good time. It's fun.
That's good. That's a good one. Okay, Josh, let me know about the first clip you were bringing.
Okay, so when I lived in New York, I did not have enough time to see Hamilton. I didn't, but I also hate being left out.
I love that it was your time that was the constraint.
Oh, I mean, it was money, it was time, it was all of these things.
I was too busy.
Oh no,
but just couldn't make it.
I mean, I tried to enter the lottery a couple times and I got disheartened. Was like, okay, this isn't real. Like, I'm not gonna get tickets, and so I just like went on about living my life. But the thing is that like, I love a musical, but I hate a soundtrack of a musical without having seen said musical, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I just digged my head in the sand and ignored everyone online that was having so much fun with Hamilton while it was happening, because I was so sad that I didn't get to see it. But then at the beginning of lockdown, it went on Disney Plus. And Tracy, since we met, was like, yo, you would love the show. And I was like, yeah, but I'm never going to get to see it. And then I was like, okay, now I have a chance to see it. And so I literally was texting her the entire time that it was on. And she would be like, what part are you at? And I was like, I don't know the name of the song yet, but it's amazing. And she was like, oh, well, send me one word. And I sent her a word. She's like, oh, you're at like 30 seconds into the show. Like, it's great. But I think that like, there's this one part in that it's like a theater device, I guess. I'm not a big musical theory person. I just know what I like when I see it. And this I like. So I think it's called a Guadalupe.
A Guadalupe.
And what it is that moment before intermission when like everybody has sang their song already and they all come together in this big crescendo.
Oh.
I don't know what is in that, but it makes me cry every time. Like it's magical. Like it's crazy to see. And so the clip that I had for you was the moment at the end of I guess it's Act 1. It's like right before the intermission. And it's the end of Nonstop. And you see Angelica and Eliza, and they're singing their song. And you see George Washington and Burr, and they're singing their songs. And then you see Hamilton, and they're all singing different songs, but they all fit together. Just amazing.
Let's listen to this moment.
He will never be satisfied, satisfied, satisfied.
Those are children, right?
Yeah, that's the ham for ham version, where it's like fans doing that same theater device. But I still think it's really cute.
That's amazing. I love how you're like, whatever's happening here, I don't know what it's called, but
I don't know why it works, but it works. I don't know why it works, but it works. I saw on Twitter when I was watching, I saw Ava DuVernay tweet about like, what is this thing called? Like, in film, I think we call it like a montage with music or something. And it like led to everyone trying to tell her what it was. And I saw like 8,000 different words for what that specific device is called. Like, I think some people called it like an all skate. Some people called it like a medley around.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
characters come out.
Yeah, exactly. But they always get me. That moment always gets me.
Oh, that's good. Okay, Tracy, what is your next clip that you want to share?
Well, I hope you're ready for a tonal shift, everyone.
All right.
We're going from Broadway to court. Okay, so okay, all right, best entrance into this. So remember earlier when I was like, it's really hard for me to get into stuff where my brain has to work, including like shows that I grew up with and just don't remember. Something that oddly enough is new material but does not require a lot of my brain is true crime, which is just like my all-time comfort food. I don't know. I know that I'm into it because of my anxiety for sure, because it makes me feel like I'm studying, I guess, like how not to get serial killed or like kidnapped or something like that. It also does remind me of my childhood because my mom, even though she yells at me about how much true crime I consume, she's the one that got me started on it. So I would watch unsolved mysteries and get upset, start crying. She'd have to come home early from work. It was a whole big thing. So I'm assuming that that's where the comfort in this comes from. But I have more or less like reached the end of all the true crime podcast subjects, I think, because now I'm just like, oh, I've heard this story. I know this story. So what I've started to do is watch court cases on YouTube. Like they have
on YouTube.
Yes, entire court cases, like
real footage,
real actual footage, like the famous cases like Jodi Arias. I know. I tried to find like a cute entrance. I don't know. But it's just so fascinating to me because it's just like, it feels like the raw material that true crime is made out of, like the people who like go and they research these crimes, they probably at least like leaf through the court transcripts. And I don't know. I feel like I'm in like Law and Order or something. And I've learned like 5 or 6 law terms and now I'm insufferable. I'm just like, oh, that's hearsay. You can't do that. Carol, you can't do that either. But in particular, I've been watching like a lot of like older famous cases, like the trials that like you grow up just like knowing about, even if you weren't into true crime, like Jeffrey Dahmer, which may or may not be the footage is coming up now. So to set up this clip, I'm sorry everybody. I'm really
I didn't think there'd be any Dahmer during the
Who
joy
does?
clip section.
Who does? Okay, that's fair. The joy part in this comes for me. It for whatever reason, true crime will always help me to turn off my anxious brain. Like
Yeah.
always, it's one of the only things. It's like that, and like very intensive and borderline ridiculous arts and crafts projects with like tiny pieces that are going to take you forever. Like those are some of the only things that like will calm my brain and give me like a feeling of peace. And it's
Yeah.
that feeling of peace that gives me joy. It's not like, yeah, Dahmer, trial, you know. Also, I just think it's really, really fascinating. So this is just like a quick clip of the trial in which they were trying to figure out whether or not Dahmer was sane when he committed his atrocities.
Oh, interesting.
Right? It's so interesting because then since it happened in like what 90 some odd, like you get like a view of how we were looking at mental health and talking about it in the language and like how much it's changed. And also again, I get to be in SVU detective because I'm just like, clearly, you know, it's clearly saying he was covering up his tracks. Like, I mean, come on, Judge, what are you doing? So this is a clip from that. Also, the guy that they're talking to looks like Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live. Enjoy.
If you're going to cut up bodies to get rid of them, and you decide you don't want blood on your clothes, you take off your clothes and you cut up the bodies, don't you?
Okay, yes, and again, please, I don't want to be argumentative. Let me just be clear. As a psychiatrist, because I'm examining him that way, I'm wondering whether, in addition to get rid of him to dispose of the body, it might be tied in somewhat to his disease.
Don't we all feel joyful?
You know, what's interesting, Tracy, is I'm not thinking, oh, I feel sad. I'm thinking I need to do some Wikipedia research to learn more about that moment. You know, like I'm immediately pulled in. Just the way he says disease there, I'm like, oh, that is an interesting moment. And the other thing I'm interested in is like watching archival trial footage. You're seeing all the people in the courtroom other than the people on trial are like, they're people doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And they're not famous people, they're not celebrities acting, they're like regular people who are defense attorneys and prosecuting attorneys and judges and bailiffs and, you know, stenographers. So that's also sort of interesting to just sort of watch the way they interact.
Like it transports you back to like the scene of the crime. I wasn't gonna it transports you to I feel like I'm like in the actual courtroom, and it feels amazing to me because like this is like a famous trial, it's a famous court case. And before quarantine, like it had not dawned on me or hit me that like maybe there's footage of all these like court cases or all of these like really notorious cases that I grew up hearing about and I've seen documentaries about. And I love any and all archival footage. My weekly obsessions change every week, which is why I call them weekly obsessions. But there's another really, really great show called History in Color that is on like Hulu or something. And it's just old footage of history colorized. And so I'm already predisposed to liking like historical archival footage. And this is just like one thing I love mixed with another thing that I love. Like, how could this go wrong? It doesn't usually until I have to share it with the whole world. It's so weird.
Josh, is this a place where you have a place of connection with Tracy, or is this where she's like outside of where you all overlap in your obsessions?
This is the left side of the Venn diagram, not the center.
Okay.
It's fine. Just me and my mom on this lonely branch.
I mean, do you and your mom send YouTube like, oh, I found this one? Do you all share?
No, because she is just so ridiculous and she's probably watching. And you know what? I'm not going to take that back because she did me so much. When I go home to visit, I just want to sit on the couch and I just want to watch. Was a while ago before streaming was like really, really like the thing that we were doing. But like she had Investigation Discovery. And so whenever I would go home, I'm just like, I'm going to be in this recliner. I'm going to watch Investigation Discovery. I'll tap out for lunch or something, and then that's it. And she just like complains and complains and complains. I'm just like, but it's your fault though. It's your fault. Also, I think that her true crime habits are a bit too much for me. Even I won't say too much. So we don't like swap clips and stuff. We do
You
talk.
have different taste. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, she's too much. she's too out there for me. The girl who brought the Jeffrey Dahmer court case clip show and tell. So
Okay, Josh, is your next clip also going to be quite a pivot? We've gone
From that, yes, I think so.
Dahmer. Where are we going next?
We're going to a television channel that I think about a lot, that I wish still existed. UPN. And a time.
I've recently been listening to your testimonies about UPN on your show. But tell me more.
UPN. It's just there were so many
tell me about
great
UPN.
television
Like, what is
shows.
UPN when you think of it? Like,
When I think of it,
what is it?
I think of a channel of Black sitcoms, like just black, so many Black sitcoms that you could not like some.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a feeling that you get a lot of times. And so, like, the fact that there were so many, like, there was one-on-one, there was half and half, and all of their theme songs slapped. Like, it was such a moment in time. But one of my favorite ones was Moesha. I loved that show. My babysitter loved that show, and so I loved that show.
Oh.
And it was like, you got this, she grew up in LA, like, and I grew up like close to LA. And so like, it was what I thought like teenagehood was going to be. And Brandy was the star of it, which I mean, she ruled like the 90s and early 2000s. And it was appointment television. Like, it was so good. Like, and so at the beginning of the quarantine and the lockdown, Netflix put a bunch of Black classics on Netflix, like, so that you could stream them, and a bunch of people were going online and going back and watching them and rewatching them with fresh eyes, like as an adult. Like, there are all these decisions that Moesha makes that people were like reevaluating. We were like, would we have done that? Like, her dad owned a Saturn dealership. Saturn is a type of car that used to exist, and so. And so he tries to give her a free car, right?
Since I asked you to explain UPN, you're like,
colors.
I explain all the references.
The colors I'm trying to get. And so he tries to give her a free car, a free Saturn, and she's like, no, I want a Jeep, because again, this is the 90s. Everyone wanted a Jeep. And so it caused like this big conversation online about whether she was ungrateful or whether she was just someone who understood what she wanted and wanted to fight for it. But in rewatching, my favorite part of Moesha, I love Brandy, I love Hakeem, I love all the different characters. My favorite part of Moesha is Countess Vaughn, who plays her best friend Kim. And in this next clip, you'll see why. You'll see like all the different elements that she has and that she brings to the table, I guess.
Y'all gotta come to church with me here. When are we gonna stop letting these guys, define us and demean us? Now! When are we gonna walk proudly with our heads up high and strut like some women? You know what I'm saying? Now! And when are we going to 31 flavors?
Oh, I loved her so much. She always had something really funny to say, and really, she was never slow. She was always quick, and her voice was amazing. And she always just provided the comedic relief that you needed in order to make it through each episode. You know?
Yeah, to have the release.
Yeah. But she ended up getting her own spinoff called The Parkers. And it was, all of these shows kind of exist in the same world, like Mara Brock Keel, like Girlfriends, The Parkers, The Game. But in The Parkers, Kim played by Countess Vaughn, goes to college with her mom at the same time. And so Monique plays her mom, and they have this relationship where they're like friends, and they're also mother and daughter. So you have to like, they play that line a lot. And in this next clip, Monique killed a clown named Tebow.
Okay.
And this was also a time in television, and one of the reasons I loved it was because when the actors in these TV shows could sing, they always, like, in the show were in a band.
Uh-huh.
And so Countess Vaughn was in this band in the Parkers called Freestyle Unity, and Monique asks them to sing a song for Tebow because he had just passed away, and this is what they do.
It's our way of saying goodbye to an old friend.
All right. Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Mama killed him. Mama killed him. Tebow. Tebow. Mama killed him. Mama killed him. Tebow. Tebow. Mama killed him. Mama killed him. Tebow. Tebow.
Oh,
Bravo.
these are like songs that until they were put back on streaming, like would play in my head, and then because me and my sister or me and my cousin would have sang these back and forth to each other.
Mama
and
killed him. Mama killed him.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And it's like it disappeared into the ether, and I'm so happy that we get to like watch them again.
And those are like the songs that Josh sings randomly in the studio, whatever. And there's some that I wouldn't know. I'd be like, oh, it's a little too left field for me, but mostly.
Oh, I loved Countess Vaughn, and she was like, I guess people would call her like the sidekick on Moesha, but she was like such a star in her own right. Like her voice was amazing. There's this clip that I go to a lot. Vibe magazine used to have a talk show, a late night show, and Sinbad was the host of this show.
Okay.
And this is like 90s R&B is huge. Like Usher is like
King of everything.
Usher, right? And him and Countess Vaughn were guests on the show at the same time, and she had no problem battling him to like a riff off, like a vocal run off.
Uh-huh.
And it lives in my mind rent free.
Do we get to see that?
pick you right up.
Freaky, freaky, like the one that's ever made you feel like. Oh, no, no.
Don't you know I wanna freak you, baby? Freak you.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And I'm thinking about like, so he probably was the first guest, and then she comes on, and he's sitting beside her. And then she's like, oh, this is my segment.
Exactly.
I love that.
And he also was like, I mean, they were like castmates because he was one of Moesha's boyfriends on Moesha. And so to see like their friendship, but also see like their rivalry, and just like, who doesn't love a runoff? Who doesn't love a riff off? Like, who doesn't, when they're sad? I mean, I do. When I'm sad, I sit and watch people do vocal runs like for hours.
Brandy.
And how old were you when that moment on the Vibe talk show happened?
I had to be like 7 or 8, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So like, it was definitely like, look at the big kids, look at like how much fun they're having. That's what adulthood is going to be like. And so then the lockdown happened. And so I go back and I pretend as though that is what adulthood is like.
Make your own adulthood. Yeah.
You know?
Okay, Tracy, I think we have one more clip from you. Is that right?
Yes, this one is a lot less dramatic. The opening words will not be, so when you chop up a body. So much. So, another thing that has managed to give me joy in a very interesting way is YouTube hair tutorials. So quarantine, COVID cases are spiking. Nobody should go outside right now. And I regret not going out to get my hair braided before we got like locked down again. Because one thing that I want to do less than anything else in my life is worry about my hair when I'm in here by myself. You know, like if I never had to see anybody, I don't care what this stuff looks like. Like I've now started doing meetings in my bonnet, and I'm just like, y'all are lucky that I'm here. So let's just keep it going. But I mean, I have to find something to do with it, right? This feels like a safe space, just the three of us. So I will make a confession. Don't tell anybody. I cannot braid. I can't cornrow. I can braid. I can cornrow. Quick question, Josh. Let me ask you a quick question. What, in your mind, is the difference between cornrowing, braiding, and plaiting?
In my head, my unscientific opinion, a cornrow is a braid that like lays along your head.
Right.
Flat is when you section your hair into like several different braids, and then a braid is like an umbrella term for all of these things.
Okay. So I can plait and I can braid. I cannot cornrow.
Okay.
Right. Another thing that I can't do is just like wear braids. Like I don't know what happened, but like I will see Black girls with just like beautiful box braids, just like really long, like faux locks or just like something. And I just stare and envy and all because I want that. Like I can look great and not have to touch my hair every day. Are you kidding me? Like, yes. The problem is I hate them. Like I've had them like maybe twice. They're heavy. They are hot. They take forever and ever. Like sitting in a chair like 4, 5, 6 hours. Like you're asking so much of me. It's hard for me to sit still anyway, as you might have noticed like during this. But like I don't know if I just don't have that particular Black girl gene or what. But I want it, right? So I figure this is a good time to play and practice and learn something because number one, I don't have to go outside. And number two, I've got time. And number three, I need something to hyper focus on, which is usually like I'm either not interested in something or I'm obsessed with it. And I can't think of anything else. So I'm just like, if I'm going to obsess over something, it should be hair and not the news because that's what I was doing for a while. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn. I'm not going to learn how to cornrow. Like I tried to set realistic expectations for myself. But I was just like, there's got to be a way that I can get some long, beautiful plaits or twists or something in my hair. There's a way to do it. And there are so many tutorials. My goodness. There's so many tutorials on YouTube. And I'm just like, one of these has to be for me. Everybody says that they're always easy. There's always these like hacks and stuff. I'm like, I can at least braid, you know, like I can comb my hair out. There's something out here for me. So I spend a lot of time looking for like the easiest of easiest, like most basic YouTube tutorials. And this clip is from what I was so happy. I was so happy when I found this clip because the girl in it is just like, it's easy. It's so easy. It's fast. It's quick. It's easy. You know, I got something to do later, but I thought I would just go ahead and put these passion twists in here really quickly. It's easy. This is all you got to do. I'm like, bet I can do all of the things that she did in this video. So this is the clip. I can't remember the young lady's name, but she's gorgeous. Her makeup is beautiful. Like they're all so aspirational. Like I want to be everybody who has ever made a YouTube tutorial. And I'm not. But for a while when I'm studying and getting ready, I'm just like, I feel potential in myself that I've not felt in a while. So this is my most recent guru.
What I'm going to be doing today are passion twists. I've been seeing tons of videos on that. I've been getting tons of requests, and I've been promising you that I was going to do like more protective styles and things like that. I was really going to do these really small box braid knotless, or the knotless braids, kind of like feed-in box braids, but I'm going to hold off on that to get these passion twists out the way because it's just really cute and straight to the point.
Really cute.
Oh, I love. She's like, we're just gonna do this.
Yeah, just like no problem. I just put some quick twists in my head. That's it.
Wait, Tracy. So I want to be able to picture like when you are watching a video like this. Do you sometimes just watch it for comfort, or are you usually trying to?
So usually I'm watching it. I'm studying it, right? Like I'm writing down what she's using, like what kind of comb do I need, what kind of products do I need, like. Should I look for someone with a different hair type, more similar to mine? Before quarantine and everything started, I did used to really, really love YouTube tutorial makeup videos because those, we were talking about this the other day, but like in general, like transformation stories, my problem is like, I just want to get to the end and I don't have much appreciation for the journey, which can be a very big problem in life.
That's the journey.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like,
that's what it is.
Get there, yeah. But makeup tutorials are just like, I know I'm out of my depth with makeup, so I wouldn't even try. And so those I would just like watch straight through for comfort. But this, I'm just like, I'm on a mission, like I'm going to do this. I need to like write out a battle plan. I need a list of supplies, And I really like it because, again, it's something that like occupies so much of my brain that by the time it's over, I don't realize I've gone X amount of hours not consuming the news or not being on Twitter or not just being sad or whatever. The downside of this, however, is that they're all lies. Nothing is easy. So it's just so hard and so frustrating. It makes me so mad, but like I can't stop. I just ordered some more hair. If I can just be honest, like I'm gonna try it again, like the style that the girl in the video was gonna do. So after that video, I felt so just sure and confident that this was gonna be easy because I mean, she just like bam, 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 it's in there. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. I want to be so pretty too. And it didn't work that way at all. I looked so crazy when I put those twists in my head. I really did.
No, you didn't.
I knew Josh was going to say that. That's because in the pictures that everybody saw, I had on a scarf where it mattered. I spent some hours like on my little hairline, like trying to get it cute. And I had like the angle and bam, that's the only way what I did to myself looked good. What you did not see, Joshua, is just like my real hair is just trying to escape from all of the braids that I put in there. I didn't put enough in there because I'm lazy. So it was just like thin and sad looking. And when I was finished, it looked like it had been in there 3 months. So I just took it out. But, so here is the joyous part, right? All of them were terrible. All of them except for one. There was one that was like right here. I don't know what I did to it, but it was perfect. And I said, you know what? You're still in there. You can still learn stuff. And that high that I felt, like, I don't think I was prepared for like how good it actually made me feel. Like I love learning new stuff, like I love like learning new crafts and just like whatever. And I think that like with the quarantine and just being so stagnant and just every day is like every other day and every other day, I was just like, what's the word when your muscles go away or just like turn to yeah, that word. I was like, is that what's happening to me? I know what's happening to my body because I don't move, but like, is that what's happening to my brain? And like this proves that like my brain is not atrophying. My brain is not turning to stone, at least.
Yeah, it is not swimming upstream all the time. It is also swimming downstream.
Sometimes. And also just, I know my tendency to get so doggedly focused on something. Like once something gets in my head, like I can't let it go until like, I just get tired of it on my own. And that's what I was doing with the news and like all of this terrible, toxic information. And so I'm just like, also another thing that my brain does is if left to its own devices, it will find like a personal problem to obsess over because it's less stressful than focusing on like what's happening with the world. But that's still stressful. I'm still stressing myself out with like, am I ever going to get married? I don't know. Let's look at some YouTube hair tutorials instead, and let's be angry at the fact that I can't braid and then be excited that somehow I got one of them to work so that I can do it all over again. And maybe I'll get two of them to work this time. I don't know.
Yeah, and I love that one braid. It's both like it's like showed you, you said I'm still in there, like you have this capacity to like learn, but also that like to create, this might be, but like to create some, like to change something. Like I am finding that as I think about what do I want to learn or try to teach myself. It's like I just want to feel like I am in charge of some kind of forward progress when so much feels out of control.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to end, like these are some really good tips of things that I'm gonna keep on my bookmarks for when I need to feel joy. But you know, the thing that I think you all are both really skilled at is like knowing, you've spent time to figure out like what is the thing that is going to soothe me, like who I am. And I just wonder kind of generally if you have advice to give for someone who doesn't quite know where their go-to spots are yet to soothe themselves when they're feeling the whole range of emotions that are coming with this time and living through this really challenging moment. What's the advice that you would give for like how to find what your things are that you want to Google? Like, how did you do that?
I think a lot of times people, when you're responding to a lot of stress in your environment, the first thing that people will tell you to do is like listen to your body. And I think the same sort of advice applies here, right? Like when you're watching something and you can feel your body have a reaction and you can feel your heart race and you can feel your breathing shallow. There are times where like that is just par for the course. Like in order to like be politically engaged and aware and know what's going on, like I know that like sometimes I'm gonna watch the news and it's going to suck and it's going to make me feel worse than I felt when I started. But I also know that in order to stay politically aware and in order to stay politically engaged at my best self, I need to take breaks. And so what I do is I really think of like nostalgia as like a way to prep yourself to be your best self when you're engaging in these like really hard discussions that we're having culturally and like nationally. So I would tell you to like listen to your body in the same way that your body tells you that this doesn't feel good, this is not great, this is not fun. Your body also tells you like this is amazing, like this is crazy, like this is an experience that you like having. And so I think that like leaning into that and listening to that is something that we could all do a lot more of right now.
Man, that was good. That was good.
That's nice.
To go next. Dang it.
Well, Tracy, I guess the more concrete thing, I was really struck by you talking about your to-do list for preparing for the winter. Like, how have you thought about how have you made that to-do list? Like to think about, here are the ways I'm going to take care of myself, and here's what I think is some actionable things I can do.
Yeah. So it was my therapist who made me sort of realize that I'm going to need like a sanctuary, since everything in my life happens in the same spot, the same space. I need to have like a place to retire to that's just for rest. It's just to regenerate. There's no politics allowed. There's no work allowed. There's no nothing. And that place is to be my bedroom. My bedroom is to become that place. And to get my to-do list together, I just sort of thought about things that make me feel good, like physically. Like I like really soft things. I love, oh my gosh, gravity blankets. Weighted blankets. Oh my gosh. I think Josh
Weighted blanket gang. Weighted blanket gang.
Oh my gosh. I'm so impressionable. Like I was just told that like these blankets will like help reduce your stress and your anxiety and help you sleep better because like the weight suppresses your nervous system, which I believe. But even if it weren't true, I would still believe it and I would still love it. I was sent a blanket from this company, and they also sent me like a weighted robe that's really soft, and it's got like the I know. It's got,
Oh, I didn't know those
like,
existed.
I didn't either. But I'm convinced that like it keeps me from tensing my shoulders, and my shoulders are always tense. So I'm trying to stockpile like good sheets, good bedding. You know, like I want like hotel grade pillows, which I don't have, but I'm working on it. Also, just I'm trying to make it like as Pinteresty as I can, I think. And just like I'm trying out a lot of different things. And I just want it to be cozy. I want it to feel like a hug. I want to feel like I'm back in the womb, you know, and like nothing can get to me, you know. And that also means like it's not just about like buying stuff, you know, like self-care is not just, I don't mean that in like the capitalistic way, you know, like if you want to feel better, go buy this body wash, go buy this blanket, go buy this, go buy that. It's also cleaning up and like sweeping and knocking down that spider web that's been in my corner that I stare at when I'm in my bed trying to get myself up to go to work. And I'm just like, you know what, how can I go to work? I can't even like keep this corner clean, you know, like there's a spider web up here. How can I do anything? And it's doing stuff like that and putting forth effort to do things that I don't want to do now so that I can feel good when it gets really cold and it starts getting dark at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Like, I just want to feel good, you know, like, also, oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say like, that's something that your show has been for me. And and I think it for people who listen, that you can just press play and hear two people who clearly like love each other and who also bring really just like bring like, I just love what you bring out in each other and how the enthusiasm and also the analysis and also the like joyful obsession and the like celebration of what has been made in our culture, and to give people a platform to talk about that work is just really beautiful. And I think I'm really glad it exists. And I'm going to keep listening to it when I need to find joy. And you know what else I'm going to do on this Friday night after the kids go to bed is I'm going to turn on some Sing On, and I'm going to watch some karaoke. And I really thank you all for sharing this with us. And it's really nice to see you all and talk with you all about this work and the podcast that you're making, because it's really great. It's really wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so kind and so sweet.
Yeah, well, before we go, I want to thank everybody who helped us pull off this live Zoom. Thank you to the team at the Green Space, Sachi Ezra, Cam Tompkins, Ricardo Fernandez, David McLean, and Jennifer Sendro. Affy Yellow Duke produced this on the Death, Sex, and Money team. This week is her first year anniversary of working on our show, and we are so glad.
Congratulations.
The rest of our team is Katie Bishop, Annabelle Bacon, Emily Botine, and Andrew Dunn. Also want to give a shout out to the whole team that works with you on Back Issue. Emmanuel Hapsis, John Asante, Lede, Alexis Moore, Zandra Ellen, Brianna Garrett, Gabrielle Young, Jenna Weiss-Berman, and Max Linsky. You can follow Tracy, if you don't already, on social media at Brokey McPoverty, and Josh is at Regarding Josh. Their podcast is at Back Issue Podcast on Instagram, and you can tweet about it using the hashtag Back Issue Podcast. And as a reminder, everything we do at Death, Sex, and Money relies on listener support, which means tuning into our Zooms when we do these things, and also donating money to us when you can. It's how all this happens. We are currently doing a fundraiser. You can go to deathsexmoney.org/donate to support what we do here. On behalf of all of us, thank you for your support for our work. You can subscribe to Death, Sex, and Money and Back Issue wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to learn more about the audio we love at Death, Sex, and Money, subscribe to our newsletter at deathsexmoney.org/newsletter. Tracy, Josh, before we go, what are you going to do for the rest of your Friday night?
Oh man, I think I'm already doing it.
And how about you, Josh?
I'm going to probably put on a mask, have dinner outside with one of my friends, and then watch some television.
Oh, I like the mask, the pre-dinner mask. I like that.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
believe
Go outside.
it's outside. It's cold here and raining.
Oh, it's so nice here.
You know what? You know what? Great for you.
Stay safe and healthy. I'm Anna Sale, and this is
Yeah.
That's Sex and Money from WNYC. I hope to see you all in person very soon. Bye.